Now, okay, so let's start with going through the whole course. So, guys, this is what you have to learn. Okay, now see, it is very easy for you to, give one line of Selenium code, which is web driver is equals new Chrome driver. Okay, it is very easy to write this line and then driver dot get, and then you give your URL here. Okay, it is very easy for anyone to write these two lines and have all the jars of Selenium, and then you know say like, okay, fine, I'm able to automate the browser will open automatically, and the URL will be reached automatically. Oh, see, I have learned Java, and I have also learned how to really automate this small stuff. So why there is a need to go through Java? What is the need to go through Java if I am able to do this just by learning two lines of code, right? So, guys, this is gonna take you nowhere. Okay, this is gonna take you nowhere. And if you are thinking that it is that simple, then I can tell you, I can bet you this, that definitely you will be able to automate the whole communication with the machine, but you will never be able to add value to any of the products that you are looking to work with, right? You can never say that, okay, fine, I have learned how the Selenium API really works. What is the methods mentioned in the Selenium API, but you will never be able to manage a complete work structure inside a company without going through the complete concepts of Java. In fact, you will never be able to, you know, join a company, because whatever automation interviews are happening out there, whatever language you are going to use to automate, they are going to test your knowledge on that language as well, right? So you cannot say, okay, fine, I have learned a couple of lines of code in Selenium and I am an automator. That's not an automator, right? That is something which can be done by a 10th grade student, right? Because it's just a two line of code, or at least setup of your project before that, for sure. But then that kind of an approach is something that you would, I mean, seeing the videos on the YouTube and thinking that you will become an automator is something which is still debatable. Okay. So Java is something which is very important. Why Java? Only Java is important. Because guys, see, in the market, Selenium API can be, Selenium is an API, first of all. If anyone in the interview asks you, okay, what is Selenium? Selenium is an API which gets added to the Java project, and then the whole library we can use. Okay. Now, many a times you will be asked that, okay, fine, if you have knowledge on Selenium, which language have you used? So that language has to be Java. Why? Because there are more jobs in the market related to Selenium and Java. Okay. Yeah. So whenever we are talking about, you know, having a complete knowledge of automation, you have to have a language associated with it. I mean, Selenium can be done with the JS library, with Python library, right? Mr. Stephen, the right name of the spelling is, let me check. This is the guy, okay? Yeah, Simon Stewart. Okay, this is the guy, Simon Stewart. Okay, this is the guy, guys. He is the one who has created Java bindings for Selenium API. When there was a launch of Selenium 4 also, there is a complete launch video of Selenium 4, which is actually found on YouTube. And this is the guy who is narrating. So why he is the one who is narrating everyone? Because he's the owner of Java bindings and he's the one who has created it first. Okay, there is a whole team of other people who have one who has created the Python bindings. Okay, and there is one who has created the different. I mean, different people has created different bindings of Selenium. Okay, of Selenium API. Okay, now this guy, why this guy has been more famous than others? Because this is the one who is running the Selenium NGO. I mean, Selenium is an NGO. Okay, Selenium is an NGO. These guys, all of them, as he has mentioned in his launch video as well, that these guys are putting 2 to 3 hours of their day into making Selenium enrich, and only like they are working in their different companies and their setups, but they are giving and devoting their short time to this NGO, the Selenium NGO, and they are maintaining the Java bindings. Okay, another reason why we are only going to use Java bindings, because the support. This is very important. Whatever you are learning in your life with respect to coding, it is very important that how is the support of that particular technology. What is the community structure and what is the community support? I mean, whenever you get stuck and whenever you go to this community which is maintained over some URL with a login, you post your question over there and you get your answer. I mean, many questions will be already there and has been discussed time and again on YouTube, on Stack Overflow is the place where you will find all answers related to the queries with respect to the coding. Okay, so whatever you are going to fall short in with respect to coding, you can get your answers on Stack Overflow. This is the most credible site, credible as in the most dependable and the most trustworthy site, which is there out there in the community. And I mean, everyone is having a great knowledge about this, and it's not a new thing. Every developer knows about Stack Overflow, be the developer or someone who is having development work in Selenium or Java. Okay, this site is going to give all answers to your questions, many answers to your questions. And whenever I used to get stuck also, I always have followed this site because this is the most credible site and the information over here is quite humongous. Okay, now if you have to learn Selenium, then you have to first learn the language. Now this is clear, right? You have to first learn the language, and then you have to learn how is the Selenium API really working. Is Selenium API basically what we are going to see is that what are the ways that we can automate the communication with the machine by any user. Okay. Up, what is meant by communication? By communication, I basically mean that you have to only focus on the communication with the machine, the ways of communication with the machine, that will be either your mouse clicks, right? Your, I mean, what are the ways to communicate with the machine? You can do your right click, you can do your left click, right? You can scroll, right? You can mouse over. These are the only ways that we, I mean, so far, these are the only ways that we are communicating with machines, right? And then your keyboard, right? What what keyboard actions you are doing, even drag and drop you do with mouse, right? So all keyboard actions will be taken care of. Now, once you learn how to interact with the machine, how to exchange information with the machine, then it is very important for you to learn what is a framework. Now, why do we use framework and why is it very important for you to learn frameworks? It is because, guys, see, in development, there are, they are ready-made frameworks wherein they can simply go and, you know, make their whole code, and they can publish their code or share their code on Git. They can make repositories of that code. But in Selenium, we are going to create our own framework. There are a few frameworks that are really have been in talks in the market. That is POM framework. One is data driven framework. Okay, data driven framework, and then there is keyword driven framework. Okay. Um, okay. Then there is hybrid framework. Okay. Then right now, there has been a lot of talks about, Cucumber framework, right? And then there is one more framework which is related to. So there are a lot of frameworks out there in the market, but these are the ones that you would definitely, find or talk about in the market. Now, there are a lot of companies who are hiring on Cucumber framework. There are a lot of companies who are only looking for POM framework. Hybrid framework is also expected. Now, what is hybrid framework? A combination of data driven and combination of keyword driven. What is done in data driven? Data is fetched with Excel, and in keyword driven, actions are fetched from Excel. There is a bifurcation given to these both, but then I don't think that this is the right bifurcation. But then this is what has been, present in a lot of sites in the market. But then once you go to really learning and practicing, you know, taking inputs from the Excel sheet, then this is also taking input from the Excel sheet, and this is also taking input from the Excel sheet. There is no big difference. And combination of both, this is taking the data from the Excel sheet, and this is about taking the inputs of actions that the user is going to perform. And we are going to take these inputs from Excel sheet. Okay, and then there is hybrid framework. This hybrid framework is a combination of these two. Okay. Then there is Cucumber framework, which is running on BDD. Okay, behavioral driven development. Okay, now these all are on the basis of, these are running on the basis of TDD, which is test driven development. Okay, so these are all the frameworks. But then if you do not understand the POM framework, you will not be able to get all these. If you have, I mean, in this particular course, we are only going to focus on POM framework. Why? Because POM framework has a little components into it. Okay. These components are related to making the code reusable. Now, whenever in the interview, if anyone is going to ask you what is the real use of framework, the real use of framework is to make your code reusable. Okay, reusable. Why? Why is it necessary? Because we are not going to write tons of line to execute just a small piece of task, right? What we are going to do is we are going to create a different class to write these lines, and we are going to inherit this class where we have to simply call the methods, and in just one line everything is going to work for us. I mean, every step that we execute, every click, every send keys to the input, everything that will be, you know, exercised with just one line of code. Now, what will happen if we'll do this? I mean, this could have been done. This is going to save a lot of time of yours. Let's say tomorrow someone has come up with a huge, like 100 action end-to-end test case to be automated to be completed in just a day's time. That moment you will be, realizing the real usage of this, the reusability of the code, right? Also, we are going to divide, using the framework, we are going to divide a complete end-to-end scenario kind of a thing, or a complete, identification would be a different class, identification of the web elements. Then your listeners will be the other class where your reports will be generated. Then your logic will be written in the other class. Then your assertions, the validations will be written in the other class. Now, why we are breaking our whole scenario into small, small different pieces of work in different classes? That is because, let's say, you have how many? Like, say, you have four people in your organization who are working into, what? Who are working into your automation team. Okay. This is your automation team. Now, one guy will only identify the web elements. I will talk about web elements. We'll deep dive into everything. And one guy is only coding the bilocators, and you know this guy is coding the bilocators. We will discuss this in deep. What are these once we'll start our Selenium API courses? But what I want to explain you is that this is used for web element identification. Okay. Web element identification. Now, what is web element? Web element is anything and everything that you see on a web page. Okay, we will understand this better in the sessions coming. So, this is about the web element identification. One person will be putting the validations, and one person will be putting the logic to validate. Okay, so logic related to how the code is going to move on, how code works. Okay, the logic, how code works to cater scenarios. Okay, scenarios or end-to-end test cases that we have come up with to automate. So these all things will be done by this guy. And this guy is only focusing on the listeners, that is the reporting structure. Now, if some piece of work has come to us, these are the four elements that are very important. There are many other that we will discuss and deep dive, but these are the four major elements, let's say. So the whole work has been divided into four pieces. Now the work that has been expected to be delivered in 4 days can be delivered in 1 day, right? Right, guys? So the lot of effort, lot of work is, you know, saved because of this logic. There has been instances, I mean, there has been more instances where this kind of a structure is not present in a lot of firms, and only one guy who understands the code completely. This kind of a scenario is done with the people who have just joined the firm. I mean, the people like you who will be joining the firm as a fresher into automation, right? So you will be the either the shadow resource if you have very good communication skills and you have client handling skills, you will definitely will be the part of client calls as well. But then this kind of structure is followed with the shadow resources. Now, what is shadow resource? The one who is not facing the client and is helping to the person who is finally facing the client. So these are the people who will be helping the person who will be facing the client in their deliveries. And slowly they will groom this new joiner into a full stack, you know, automation developer. So at that moment, these four guys, what they are doing will be expected just by you. So for that, you have to go through the framework. How does the framework works? What are the components of the framework? And I tell you something, whatever will be the components of framework of POM framework will remain same in all the others framework. Only the ways of adding those elements and those components changes. Why? Because that is more understandable to the client. I mean, there were ways when we were doing our POM framework practices, and now there is Cucumber, let's say. So you will be able to connect with Cucumber framework only when you understand the POM framework elements. Whatever is there in Cucumber, you will be able to understand because see, reporting will be there. Okay, your utilities you will be creating that will be there. So the same components that will be present in the POM framework will always be here as well. So you first have to go through the POM framework and have to understand it completely to understand the other frameworks. Once this is done, these all things will be cakewalk. Then the future videos or the future learnings will be subject to what you want to do and where you want to go, because it is just the Selenium. It is just not the Selenium, and there is a rest assured API. Okay, this does not has this POM framework kind of a thing. The frameworks are this POM framework and whatever frameworks that I have introduced are only for UI. We all have collected here for this class for UI automation, right? To understand UI automation. So rest assured is for API automation. Right now in the market, another framework that is supporting API automation is Karate framework. You will see a lot of jobs in the market with Karate framework. So you have to reach here, but the road has to start from here. The journey has to start from here. And even to reach till here, you have to go through core Java, you have to go through Selenium API, then how the framework really works. And of course, the reporting is very important. The reporting is going to go to all stakeholders, right? I'll tell you when I say stakeholders, what do I mean, right? So there will be teams, there will be QA teams, there will be development teams, and there will be client. When we talk about different teams, we use teams, but when we talk about the whole, all teams together, including the client, the word we use is stakeholders. Okay. So this is how it is.